What if I told you that the biggest mistake many crypto investors will make in the next cycle is selling too early? Imagine waiting years for an asset to finally move, only to exit right before the real explosion happens. This is exactly the situation many people might face with XRP. When the price finally starts moving and breaks the psychological levels of $2 or even $3, many investors are already planning to sell. They are thinking about taking profits and walking away after years of waiting. But the real question is that the right move, or could that be the biggest financial mistake of the decade? Welcome back to We Are Cosmic, the channel where we break down complex financial and cryptocurrency topics into simple ideas that anyone can understand. On this channel, we talk about crypto markets, long-term investing strategies, and the big economic shifts that are shaping the future of money. If you are someone who wants to understand what is really happening behind the scenes in crypto, then you are definitely in the right place. Today's discussion is going to be honest, realistic, and maybe even a little emotional, because the truth is, a lot of investors are tired. Some people have been holding XRP for 2 years, some for 5 years, and believe it or not, there are investors who claim they have been holding it for almost a decade. That is a very long time to wait for any investment to reach its full potential. When people hold an asset for that long, emotions start to play a big role. Frustration starts building up. People begin asking questions like, was it worth it? Or did I make the wrong decision? These are completely normal thoughts in the world of investing. The crypto market is not just about charts and numbers. It is also about psychology, patience, and belief in the technology. Now, here is something very important to understand. When XRP finally breaks above major price levels like $2 or $3, there will be a wave of profit taking. This is almost guaranteed. Many investors who have been holding for years will finally see a chance to cash out. For them, it will feel like freedom after a very long wait. But at the same time, this is exactly where the big players, also known as whales, often make their moves. Large investors understand market psychology. They know that retail traders tend to sell when prices finally start moving up after a long period of silence. That selling pressure can create temporary pullbacks or price fluctuations even during a larger bullish trend. So the big question becomes, are we looking at the end of the opportunity, or are we actually just getting started? This is the type of moment that separates short-term traders from long-term believers. Some people will see $3 and think it is the top. Others will see it as just the beginning of a much bigger move. We are going to break down the reality of the XRP market. We will talk about why many investors are feeling exhausted after years of waiting. We will also look at the broader crypto market, including what is happening with Bitcoin right now and why the overall macro environment matters more than many people realize. Most importantly, we are going to discuss whether the long-term thesis for XRP is still alive and why some analysts believe the real breakout may still be ahead. So make sure you stay with me until the end, because the information we are going to cover today could completely change the way you look at the current crypto market cycle. And before we continue, let me ask you something important. How long have you been holding XRP? One of the biggest realities in the crypto market is something that many people don't talk about enough, and that is investor fatigue. Holding an asset for a few weeks or months is easy. Even holding for a year can be manageable if the market is exciting, but holding an asset for 4, 5, or even 10 years requires a completely different level of patience and conviction. And this is exactly what we are seeing in the XRP community right now. There are many investors who entered the market with high expectations. Analysts were predicting big moves. Some believed that a new all-time high could arrive in late 2025. Others expected the next major rally to begin in early 2026. But the reality of markets is that they rarely move according to perfect timelines. Right now, the crypto market is moving slower than many investors expected. Bitcoin, which usually leads the entire market cycle, is still struggling to push strongly above major levels. When Bitcoin slows down, the rest of the market usually moves slowly as well. This includes XRP, and this is where frustration begins to build. Many investors start questioning their decisions. They see other markets moving, they hear different opinions from analysts, and they begin to wonder if they should simply give up and move on. Some people openly say they are tired of waiting. Others say they will sell if the price does not reach certain levels within a specific time frame. But here is something very important to understand about financial markets. The biggest opportunities often require the longest patience. Think about it this way. If everyone could easily hold an asset for many years without emotional pressure, then long-term investing would not create such large rewards. The reason long-term opportunities exist is because most people simply cannot wait that long. In crypto, this psychological pressure is even stronger because the market moves extremely fast during bull cycles. When prices suddenly explode, it feels like everything is happening overnight. But what people forget is that those explosive moves are usually built on years of quiet accumulation and slow development. This is exactly what many long-term XRP holders believe is happening. Some investors have been consistently buying and holding for years. They call this strategy stacking. Instead of trying to time every market movement, they slowly increase their holdings over time. Their belief is that eventually the market will recognize the value of the technology, but not everyone shares that level of patience. In reality, the XRP community today is divided into two main groups. The first group is extremely bullish. These investors believe that XRP will eventually reach much higher prices in the future. They are willing to wait 5, 10, or even 15 years if necessary. For them, short-term price movements are not very important. Their focus is on the long-term vision. These investors expected faster results. When the market does not move as quickly as they hoped, frustration grows. They start thinking about selling even if they once believed strongly in the project. This difference in mindset creates what we call a spectrum of investors. You have people with strong diamond hands. They are willing to hold through volatility, corrections, and long periods of slow growth. On the other side, you have investors who feel that they simply cannot wait any longer. Both perspectives are understandable. Investing always involves personal financial situations, risk tolerance, and emotional endurance. However, history in the crypto market has shown something very interesting. The investors who manage to survive the boring years are often the ones who benefit the most when the market finally moves. And the big question now is whether XRP is still in one of those quiet waiting periods, or if the next phase of the market cycle is finally getting closer. Another powerful factor that many investors underestimate in crypto is the strength of the community. In traditional finance, investments are mostly numbers on a screen. People buy stocks, hold them in their portfolios, and rarely interact with other investors. But in cryptocurrency, things are very different. Crypto is not just a financial market, it is also a global community movement. When you look at projects like XRP, Bitcoin, or Ethereum, you will notice that millions of investors around the world are constantly discussing ideas, sharing research, and debating the future of these technologies. This constant conversation creates something very powerful called a network effect. For XRP holders, this community aspect has played a huge role in keeping the project alive through difficult years. Many investors have been holding through legal battles, market crashes, and long periods where the price barely moved. Yet despite all those challenges, the community is still here. One interesting thing that experienced investors often recommend is becoming more active in the crypto ecosystem instead of just watching the market from the outside. For example, many people only consume crypto content on YouTube. They watch videos, listen to analysis, and then leave without interacting with other investors. But there are many other platforms where deeper discussions happen every day. One of the most popular places is the social platform X, where thousands of crypto enthusiasts join live conversations known as spaces. In these discussions, investors from around the world talk about market trends, new regulations, technology developments, and future predictions. The advantage of these conversations is that they allow people to exchange ideas in real time. Instead of simply listening to one creator, investors can hear different perspectives and build their own understanding of the market. This kind of interaction can be extremely valuable, especially during slow market periods. When prices are not moving much, many investors begin to feel isolated. They think they are the only ones waiting or the only ones feeling frustrated. But when they join discussions with other long-term holders, they often realize that thousands of people are in the exact same situation. That shared experience can help investors stay focused on their long-term strategy. At the same time, it is also important to remember that crypto communities contain many different types of opinions. Some people are extremely optimistic, others are very skeptical. A healthy investor learns to listen to both sides without becoming emotionally controlled by either one. Another interesting thing happening right now in the XRP community is the conversation about holding periods. Some investors say they have been holding XRP for 4 or 5 years. Others claim they have been holding even longer. And when someone mentions holding XRP for 12 years, it immediately catches attention. That would mean they were investing when the project was still extremely early, when very few people even knew about it. Back then, the price of XRP was incredibly low. In fact, historical data shows that around 12 years ago, the price was roughly $0.002. That means an investor who bought XRP during that time saw the asset grow thousands of percent during the following years. Even though the price has experienced many ups and downs since then, the long-term growth from those early days has been massive. Stories like this are one of the reasons why many crypto investors continue to believe in the power of long-term holding. They understand that the biggest opportunities often appear very early in the life of new technologies, but of course the big question now is whether XRP's biggest growth phase is already behind us, or whether the next major chapter of its journey is still ahead. Now let's shift our focus to something extremely important that many investors forget when they analyze XRP, and that is the fact that XRP does not move in isolation. In the crypto market, almost every major asset is influenced by what Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin is still the leader of the entire crypto ecosystem. When Bitcoin moves strongly upward, it usually pulls the rest of the market with it. When Bitcoin struggles or enters a period of consolidation, altcoins like XRP often move slowly or even sideways. Right now, Bitcoin is trading below some major psychological levels. For example, many analysts were expecting Bitcoin to move comfortably above the $70,000 range and continue pushing higher during this phase of the cycle. Instead, we are seeing periods of consolidation where the market is moving up and down without strong momentum. This type of price action can feel frustrating for investors who were expecting a faster bull run. However, if we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the situation may not actually be as negative as it feels in the short term. When analysts study market charts, they often look at different time frames. Short time frames like the 4-hour chart show very small movements and quick fluctuations. On this chart, we can see that Bitcoin recently experienced a correction after touching the lower levels of the Bollinger Bands, which is a popular technical indicator used to measure volatility. When price touches the lower band, it sometimes indicates that the market is temporarily oversold. After that, the price may begin consolidating before the next move. And that is exactly what we are seeing right now. Bitcoin has entered a period where the market is slowly stabilizing after a pullback. But the most important perspective comes when we zoom out to the daily chart. On the daily time frame, the structure actually looks stronger than many people realize. In the past, Bitcoin was struggling around lower ranges such as 60,000 or even the mid-60 range. Now the market is gradually forming higher support levels. Even though corrections still happen, the overall structure suggests that the market is slowly climbing upward. In simple terms, the market may not be exploding yet, but it is building a stronger foundation. Another factor influencing the crypto market right now is the global economic environment. The world economy is currently experiencing major shifts. Issues such as job market changes, technological disruptions from artificial intelligence, and geopolitical tensions are all influencing financial markets. When investors hear about layoffs, international conflicts, or uncertainty in global markets, risk assets like cryptocurrencies can temporarily slow down. This is normal because many large investors prefer to wait for clear economic signals before increasing their exposure. However, it is also important to understand that these same global changes are one of the reasons why cryptocurrencies were created in the first place. The financial system is evolving. Digital assets, blockchain technology, and decentralized finance are slowly becoming part of the global economic structure. Some analysts even describe this transformation as a new financial era that will take years to fully develop. This transition will not happen overnight. It may take 3 years, 5 years, or even a decade before the new system is fully integrated. For patient investors, this long transition period can actually be an opportunity. Instead of focusing only on short-term volatility, they look at the long-term direction of the technology. Now let's focus specifically on XRP and why many long-term holders remain optimistic despite recent market frustrations. XRP is unique compared to most cryptocurrencies because it is not just a speculative token, it has real-world utility. Its primary function is cross-border payments, liquidity management, and partnerships with banks and financial institutions around the world. This gives XRP an advantage that many other altcoins simply don't have: real adoption potential. One of the reasons some investors have been holding XRP for years is their belief that the legal environment will eventually favor the project. For example, the Clarity Act or other regulatory clarity surrounding XRP could play a massive role in boosting investor confidence. When regulators clarify the rules for XRP, it removes uncertainty. Uncertainty has been a major reason for price stagnation in the past. Once this uncertainty is removed, the potential for strong upward movement increases. But beyond the legal factors, there's also the community and accumulation trend. Many XRP holders continue stacking their assets quietly over time. Instead of chasing short-term gains, these investors focus on accumulation, believing that the long-term payoff will outweigh temporary setbacks. This behavior has a significant effect on the market because when large groups of holders continue to buy and hold, it reduces circulating supply, which can lead to price stability and eventually stronger upward trends. Another key aspect is the long-term historical perspective. Investors who have been following XRP for over a decade remember that it started at a fraction of a penny. Over the years, XRP has gone through extreme highs and lows. For instance, in 2018, XRP reached its previous all-time high, only to drop dramatically during market corrections. Yet those who held through those periods often saw significant returns. This demonstrates a crucial lesson. Patience in crypto is often rewarded. It's also important to recognize the technological progress in XRP. The network continues to evolve with improvements in transaction speed, efficiency, and real-world asset tokenization. These upgrades may not always produce immediate price surges, but they lay the groundwork for adoption in sectors such as cross-border payments, decentralized finance, and institutional investment. The long-term vision is about building a system that works at scale, not just chasing short-term market hype. Now, let's talk about timing. Many investors get frustrated because they expect fast gains. Some say, if XRP doesn't hit $3 by 2030, I'm out. But here's the reality. Crypto cycles are unpredictable. XRP, like many other assets, often requires years of patient holding to fully realize its potential. Investors with long-term conviction understand this, and their mindset is different. They are focused on decades, not quarters. They see beyond short-term volatility and corrections. Finally, the social factor plays a surprisingly important role. Engaging with the community, joining discussions, attending conferences, or participating in live Twitter spaces can keep you informed and motivated. It also provides emotional reinforcement, which is essential for long-term investors. Sharing strategies, success stories, and even frustrations with like-minded people reminds investors that they are not alone. That sense of belonging can make the difference between holding through a dip or panic selling during a correction. So, the takeaway here is simple. XRP's potential is not just in its price today, it's in the technology, adoption, legal clarity, and the community of long-term holders. Those who stay informed, patient, and engaged are most likely to benefit when the next major market cycle begins, where we tie everything together and focus on what the future could look like for XRP and what it means for investors like you. After analyzing the market trends, investor psychology, legal developments, and community strength, one thing becomes very clear. Long-term conviction matters more than short-term noise. Many investors get caught up in price predictions, headlines, and temporary pullbacks. Right now, some people are frustrated because the market hasn't reached their expected levels in Q4 2025 or early 2026. Others are looking at Bitcoin struggling below $70,000 and questioning whether the market will ever return to its previous highs. But here's the truth. Crypto is not a sprint, it's a marathon. The biggest rewards often come to those who stay patient and informed. For XRP specifically, there are several reasons to remain optimistic. First, the technology itself continues to advance. Improvements in transaction efficiency, faster cross-border settlements, and real-world asset tokenization create long-term adoption potential. Second, the legal landscape is slowly clarifying, which removes uncertainty and increases confidence for institutional investors. Third, the community remains strong. Thousands of holders continue to accumulate and support XRP, creating a network effect that strengthens adoption and market stability. From a technical perspective, we've seen consolidations, corrections, and temporary pullbacks, but the broader trend shows resilience. Bitcoin, which often leads altcoins like XRP, is gradually forming higher support levels. That suggests the market is building a stronger foundation for future growth. Even though short-term volatility can be frustrating, it's part of the natural market cycle. and those who understand it can benefit the most. Now let's talk about mindset. The biggest lesson from long-term XRP holders is patience and discipline. Investors who have held for 4, 5, or even 12 years understand that temporary dips do not define the long-term trajectory. They know that even small corrections or market pauses are part of a much larger story, one that could span decades. The key is to stay informed, stay engaged, and avoid emotional decisions based on short-term price movements. Another critical factor is participation in the community. Engaging in discussions on platforms like X or attending crypto conferences helps you stay updated, exchange ideas, and build relationships with other investors. This is more than just networking. It's about reinforcing your conviction and maintaining focus on long-term goals. Sharing experiences and strategies with others can help prevent impulsive decisions like panic selling during a temporary dip. As we look forward, there are several possibilities for XRP. The combination of technological development, regulatory clarity, and global adoption could drive a significant increase in price over the next few years. While exact predictions are impossible, the underlying fundamentals suggest that long-term holders may see substantial gains if they remain patient. The next major bull cycle might surprise many people who are waiting for short-term confirmations. So here's what I want you to take away from today's discussion. Understand the spectrum of investors, from impatient traders to long-term believers, and know where you stand. Recognize that XRP's potential comes from technology, adoption, and legal clarity, not just market hype. Stay engaged with the community to maintain perspective and learn from others. Focus on long-term conviction, not short-term fluctuations. Finally, I want to hear from you. How long have you been holding XRP? What keeps you motivated to stay in the market during slow periods? Drop your answers in the comments because your story could inspire thousands of others in this community. If you found this video helpful, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. That way you won't miss future updates and deep dives into crypto trends, market analysis, and investment strategies. Remember, investing in crypto is a journey, not a destination. The market may test your patience, but those who stay disciplined, informed, and connected to the community often reap the greatest rewards. XRP's story is far from over, and for long-term believers, the best may still be ahead. Welcome to We Are Cosmic, where we explore, learn, and grow together in the world of cryptocurrency. Let's make it happen. Diamond hands, everyone.